Good afternoon and welcome to the inaugural Finance and Budget Committee meeting of Wodonga City Council. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge country. Wodonga Council acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of the country and as traditional custodians of the land. We respect their ancestors, elders and young people and recognise their continuous connections to lands, water, communities across the country. Apologies and leaves of absence. We have Councillor Simpendorfer who is on leave, and we have Councillor Poulton who is technically an apology for today's meeting but has made application for leave which will be dealt with at the next council meeting. Declarations of conflict of interest. Anyone with conflicts? No conflicts? Moving to item number 4, reports for determination. Councillor Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that we suspend standing orders for the duration for the purposes of discussion and then move back out of standing orders for the motions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lowe. No conversation. I put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Okay. The first item is instrument of delegation. There's some issues that have come out of since we actually adopted the original instrument in April, I think it was, or May. I put that out for conversation and discussion. Everybody's read the report. Actually, before I do that, there's another thing I bring to councillors' attention. The email that was circulated by Councillor Poulton last night in respect to his views and considerations of the matters that we're looking at today. If there's things that come out of any of that, I'm taking it as read by every councillor. If there's anything that comes out, we'll go back to it and I can go into the detail. Otherwise, we'll take it as read. So, open to the floor for conversation. Any comments or discussion? Everybody's happy with it? Councillor Chamberlain.
Yes, I'm happy with the recommendation. As you said, that first one, there's a couple of bits and pieces in there that we were unaware of. It just needed to be tidied up. So I don't think there's any real surprises in that. So.
Okay, any other councillors wish to speak on the instrument? No. Okay, let's move on to the next item. Bearing in mind that we will come back after we resume from standing orders to deal with any motions that might wish to be moved for all of the items that are on the agenda today. Item 4.2 is the forward planner. It's all there to be seen. The dates set out for August with 2 meetings, November and February and May, and acknowledgement that we can call additional meetings as required, should they be required. Any conversation? Councillor Lowe.
No, I think you picked up on the point that I was going to say, and that's the important part about this forward planner. It does have the built-in needs if we do need to make a call for another meeting, if the needs and wants are felt appropriate by councillors, that the mechanisms are there for that. So, yeah, nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Quilty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I personally expected and hope to have more meetings, and I'm glad to see that the mechanism is built into there to have more meetings. Our first and foremost a task on hand is to achieve and maintain financial sustainability of the council. It's a very big body of work, and I envisage having more meetings, and I agree with the recommendation having the mechanism to have more meetings as required. Thank you.
Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Chamberlain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think as initially, obviously, it's going to be a bit clunky till we work out exactly how we're going to work with this stuff. Once we get into the budget, I think deliberations properly, perhaps the extra meeting here and there will be required. It'll be a good thing to be able to call that in if needed, because the whole idea of this, in my belief anyway, is to ensure that the finance and the budget deliberations are done effectively, and to give our staff the guidance they need to be able to prepare the budget and the finances of the council effectively going forward. Not that they haven't been effective before, but we need to try and make their job more or easy to do, because it's not easy, bottom line. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. Any other comments? No further comments. I note that the recommendation from this, which we'll deal with at the end of the meeting, sets out the dates for which formal notice of meeting will be given now or in due course, and that will set the meetings of the committee as we're required to do under the rules. Moving right along. Councillor Quilty.
Not really a question, but I think it's important to sort of spell it out publicly. Could I get, I don't know, Officer Scully or CEO to run us through how additional meetings are called, what the procedure is? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Oh.
Additional meetings can be called by the Mayor and or 3 councillors, or by resolution of the committee at a committee meeting.
Thank you, Officer Scully. No other comments? Moving right along. The next item is item 4.3, Financial Sustainability Review. Any conversation? Councillor Quilty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation suggests approving an additional expense on top of our 23-24 budget of $110,000 to undertake financial sustainability review by an independent consultant, or possibly down the track by an agency. I appreciate and support this initiative. However, adding more expenses to our difficult financial sustainability task seems counterintuitive. I would like to fly by, as a councillor, the idea of redirecting, achieving savings and redirecting some funds from areas such as consultancy that we have budgeted for in executive services and marketing and promotions to cover this possible expense. I will remind that in executive services, we have put in 240,000 for consultancy, around about that, and a similar amount in marketing and promotions in the marketing area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Other councillors? Councillor Lowe.
Yeah, I echo some of Councillor Quilty's words, but I'll just respond to her actual question about redirecting funds from other areas. Without the prior notice given to it, I can't really give an answer other than no right now. I wouldn't want to go down that path, and the reasons why is because at the moment in the budget process, we've allocated these funds for marketing and for consultancy, and I realise that a lot of the consultancy ones is because we don't have the skills in-house, and we're still short some positions in-house. So I think it provides the organisation with flexibility to be able to approach and get outside help where needed. So I'm not sure of just dragging money out of that area or the marketing area, where I think for me personally, our marketing budget should actually be increased. So I'm definitely not going to put my hand up and say it should be decreased, just because I think it's a vital part of our organisation, not only for our business community, but for event attraction, for advertising events, for creating campaigns for Logic, for example, or somewhere else. I think that money is well used where it is for now. And I think by idea of strategic, I'm hoping spending $110,000 on this review will save us more than $110,000. So.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. Councillor Chamberlain.
Thank you. I'd like to echo Councillor Lowe's thoughts there on that, to be honest. As much as I very much agree with Councillor Quilty on the fact that, you know, we're spending more money just a month after we've adopted the budget. But I would hope that this review process would save us multiples of $110,000 and therefore be basically self-funding, if you like, and as well as improving our sustainability going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. Councillor Hall.
Just through you, Mayor, through to the CEO. We discussed the on page 17 about developer contributions for the next 20 years, and that's not it's not in the preparations of our long-term budget because of reasons being that I suppose it's probably hard to calculate. Is there another way we can report this back to the council? Oh, sorry.
Mr. CEO.
Mayor, thank you, Councillor Hall. Yes, certainly that is our desire to have an estimate. It is a budget. We'll make a number of assumptions, including that information in future years, and then if that's realised or not realised, or those works taken out or delayed, it'll be adjusted each year, and that's part of the standard budget process, but it's one of our opportunities to increase the information in that area.
Councillor Lowe.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight the fact that if just on these reviews and that, I think that we as the councillor group really need to make sure that we're very specific in what we're asking for the review, and make sure that we control this $110,000 budget. I think we all know that if we go too broad with our ask, then so will the cost of this as well. So I think for the benefit of us and our community, if we're very succinct in what we're asking of them, and keeping in mind, you know, what is it that we're asking? That's the questions we need to ask ourselves. Is it about, and it should be about, you know, can we divest? You know, is there parcels of land or services even that we can divest? You know, what assets and that are out there, recurrent spending, where can we get, make savings there if needed, but also not forgetting that we still need to invest into ourselves and invest into our community. What other avenues is it possible for some income generation? So, you know, can we get that highlighted in our sustainability review as well? So I suppose I'm just saying we need to get creative and be succinct in what we're asking to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. I've got a question that probably is directed to the Director of Finance. We're considering, as part of this item, the allocation of funds to do this that, as I understand, are not specifically allocated in the budget documentation from the recently adopted budget. So where would you see these funds being found if we adopt this recommendation today? Where would you see the funds coming from to cover this cost?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this stage, this would be an additional budget allocation required in relation to the budget. So not taking it from any other areas is what's proposed at the moment.
To follow up, the allocation of the budget addresses, in theory at least, the entire revenue that we would expect to receive in the financial year. You say it's additional money. Well, it's still a question of where does that additional money be found?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So that would be a reduction in the current surplus.
Thank you. No, that was the answer I was after. Councillor Lowe.
It's probably worthy of highlighting Councillor Poulton's thing about logic and the assets out there that don't go into the budgetary process because you can't allocate land sales, etc., until that happens. So it might be worth highlighting that. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. But when we do the budget, to follow that through, when we do the budget, if a land sale is not formally contracted and contracted to be settled within the period of budget, then generally speaking, it's not allocated within that budget. So that money, potential income, stays outside of the budget. If we get a sale that falls in the period of the budget time frame, like within the 12 months, and that sale is settled beyond those which have already been accounted for, then that's additional money in the budget, which in theory we could use to do whatever it is that needs to be done. We do have a general policy that suggests at the moment we don't, that we use that money to fund ongoing development in logic as a first principle, and then look at what might be available after that to use for other projects. So, but in terms of the amount of money we're talking about for this project, an unexpected sale or a sale that is settled unexpectedly before the end of the financial year could be used to fund this project. Any other councillors? Councillor Chamberlain.
Yeah, again, I just want to again echo the thoughts of Councillor Lowe. To be fair, this just shows that with all the best of intentions and all the best planning and even the best staff and the best procedures, the budget's still going to be a live document. It's going to change, and we need to work with that change. And certainly the forward planning and the forward financial estimates are going to change. And we admitted that earlier and at an earlier council meeting, and I think it's relevant to say that something like this financial review is going to cost $100,000, but as I'll repeat again, I'd like to think that it gets back in more efficiencies and better operations and so forth, far more than what we spend on it. And we do have enough surplus to cover it if nothing else happens, and of course there's always the opportunity for more income from something that we can't allow for at this stage. Thanks.
Councillor Courtney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to take a little step back to echo Councillor Lowe's thoughts on of this committee's involvement in the review. It's obviously going to be a multi-step review and require a lot of looking into what this council is doing. And I'm hoping that once we proceed with this, it will be possible to have more meetings, workshops, frequent reports from a prospective reviewer and constantly keeping our finger on the pulse of what's happening there. As for the cost-benefit analysis of this 110,000 is concerned, and I call it investment, not expense, I do expect it to pay for itself multiple times. However, I believe our surplus is not that big, and our financial sustainability starts decreasing after a while. It would, yeah, look, I'm not very much against, and I was raising this as a point of a discussion more than anything. However, I believe we would be capable to scale up 110,000, and it would be a good exercise for us to start with, because I expect as a result of the review, we'll have to reshake and sort of form our a lot of areas of our operations. So perhaps we could start there and initiate and look at a few services. Financial sustainability is our #1 task. It's so important. It's not more important than other things, but it's equally important. So I wouldn't hesitate to review our expenses and redirect a little bit from here and there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. There's a couple of observations I'll make in regard to this. The first thing is the benefits that will accrue from this sustainability review are not expected to accrue for this year's budget, this current year's budget. It's going to be future budgets where we reap the benefits. So in that context, if we're talking accounting, the savings that will be made in the future, they won't be made out of this budget in that context. The other things that I'll say is we are clearly recognising that there are some headwinds coming at us, and we've got things that we have to do to change the way we do business and to change the way we run our finances and our services and our works and capital projects to put us on a more secure, sustainable, long-term footing where, in essence, we essentially break even. That, in my opinion, is the observation, or is the thing that the council's charter should always be, is to try and use the funds that are accrued to meet the needs of our community and to accrue the assets necessary in our community and to make judgment calls and changes to assets, as Councillor Lowe said before, that might be surplus to need, or to projects that might no longer be of relevance or of importance to our community. And I think that's what this has got to be all about. I recognise that there is a massive amount of work in putting this together, and it's not something that necessarily has to happen, you know, on a frequent basis, but it is something that we need to do at this point in our evolution as a council. We have to be able to set things up for the longer term, at least 10 years projections into the future, and we need to do it with this process and this to try and get our financial situation into the medium and longer term in place. I also acknowledge the statement in the officer's report that says to maintain independence, the scope and assessment of the response for this project, sustainability review, should be developed by the councillors, and it goes on to say without staff input in the first instance. And I think that is important, and as Councillor Lowe referenced earlier on, we need to be on the ball with this sort of stuff, and we need to set the high level, and we have to do it with full recognition of what the implications are, positive and negative, what the implications are in terms of how it impacts on the way the CEO has to organise his staff and all the rest of it. We have to take all those things into account when we put this together. So I think the path we're on sounds good, and the conversations we've had to date about this today sound very positive and productive. And acknowledging the comments that were provided from Councillor Poulton that fundamentally follow that same line of thinking as a general sense. So any other councillors wish to make comment? Councillor Chamberlain.
Yeah, can I just refer back to the options that are given in the current agenda? Option 1 we've already discussed, obviously, which was the employment basically of a consultant to carry out a review and a cost of 110,000. Option 2 is to do nothing and develop the long-term sustainability plan based on current management policies, processes, projects, including asset management and the service planning initiative. These are all the areas that we need to look at in order to make a more effective future plan for this council and this city. So I think it's a good idea to be able to get that sustainability and work on the things that, if we don't look at how we need to change them effectively, we won't change them, and we will end up down in that little rabbit burrow that looks like it is in that financial plan. That's where we don't want to be. So again, given the two options, I think we need to change those policies and processes and how we go about things, and we need to do it with all of the information that we can garner. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lowe?
Yeah, I'd just like to highlight the fact that in a sustainability review, there's going to be things that we're going to ask to be reviewed that are probably running as lean as what they can, and the organisation as a whole is doing a good job. So not every area we're going to ask for are we going to get savings from or have options to be able to get savings from, but that's what a review is for. But I'd just like to make sure it aligns with our community vision, our council plans, our community plans, our 2050 vision, that we take all those into account when we're doing this. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lowe. Any other councillors? Councillor Hall?
Yeah, I'm not against getting a consultant in and spending that sort of money if we can make some good savings or make some good decisions. It's really crucial that this consultant be independent and can look at our review in objective, ways that as I said, independent from councils and council staff. And it will be, I think, a really good information gatherer, not only for us, but for our council as a whole. So, I have no issues with spending that little bit extra money to do that.
Other councillors? I guess I see this as an opportunity for us to set the wheels in motion for the next round of development and things to happen in our city. We've gone through a period of the last 10 or 15 years where we've had good growth and we've had good projects and so on done. We've lived through that life cycle, and I think it's now time for us to stamp our position in place and to get the organisation in a good position to be able to go forward and start the next round of those sorts of things that are necessary to be done in a developing city. And we are a developing city. We have significant residential and commercial and industrial growth. We have huge opportunities being presented to us in all sorts of different ways, and we need to get our things in order so that we can capitalise and take the city forward with all this stuff. So there being no further conversation, Danny, Councillor Tomerley, you moved.
Can I just make a comment?
Sorry, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. I just have a couple of things. One is that I think it's quite good that we've highlighted this issue. We've looked at the long-term financial plan. We've seen in the future that there's deficits and that we need to take some action around them. Essentially, at the end of the day, that rests with varying income, expenditure, and changing our service levels. So they're things that we'll be looking at into the future. It is very important that we do this in a transparent process, and councillors highlighted that continually about engaging the public. So I have some concerns about us taking the money out of the engagement budget around marketing. However, I do know staff do always look for opportunities, and I have no doubt that the staff will come with some savings throughout the year that we'll see through QBRs, and I'm sure that will cover at least the cost of this, and it's about investing to save in the future. But so important that this process is independent. Councillors' input into the scope is really critical, and that's why the officers formed the recommendation the way that it is, that shows that councillors will have significant input to what the scope of work are for this, so that when the independent consultant comes back, the information is provided and you get a whole lot of choices to move forward. Essentially, long-term forecast is as accurate as possible at any point in time, and this will never provide us an ironclad guarantee that every year things are going to be the same, but our staff have proved quite well, councillors, that we are responsive to change and we will make those changes as we become aware of those issues. So really looking forward to working with councillors to go through the scope, and as the Mayor has indicated, it's very important that the councillors are involved in making sure that that scope fully covers, because once the Finance and Budget Committee, if you resolve as listed here, makes that decision, those works will go out, and turn that around to something entirely different will be difficult, not impossible. So this is an opportunity for us to invest a lot of time at this point. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. CEO.
Just wanted to move a motion to resume standing orders, perhaps. Get on with it.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lowe? No discussion. Put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We resume standing orders. Let's go back to 4.1. Do I have a motion? Councillor Lowe?
As per recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Chamberlain. Councillor Lowe?
Nothing to add. I think we've discussed it all previously. Thank you.
Councillor Chamberlain?
Yeah, just to read out the recommendation again for those that may not have the paperwork in front of them, that the Finance and Budget Delegated Committee recommend to Council that it amend the Finance and Budget Delegated Committee instrument of delegation in accordance with the attachment, which are just those minor changes as I pointed out before. Thank you.
Other councillors? Councillor Lowe to close? No further? I put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillor Chamberlain?
Yes, as per recommendation at this stage. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Quilty, Councillor Chamberlain.
Again, just reading it out, that the forward plan to be received and noted, and the dates for the meetings at 1 p.m. on August the 18th, 2023, November the 27th, 2023, February 26th, 2024, and May 27, 2024, with the option, if needed, to call additional meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Quilty.
Just a question for clarification. I think you said August 18th and it's August 28th. Yeah, so, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. Councillor Quilty. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Chamberlain. Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Move to item 4.3, financial sustainability. Councillor Quilty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A motion, not quite as per recommendation. I'll still try to fly it. That savings are achieved and funds are redirected from other areas such as executive services and marketing and promotions to, and then as per recommendation, fund I'm just going, I'm doing it on my feet, I'm sorry. To fund the sum of 110 to undertake a financial sustainability review and then as per recommendation.
Do I have a seconder?
Can you read that?
Excuse us while we're following the changed wording to the motion.
Sorry, I'm going to move this around a bit.
Happy? Does that reflect your motion, Councillor Quilty?
That a finance and budget committee recommends the sum of 110 to undertake a financial review for in line savings. Yes, thank you.
Councillors, do I have a seconder?
I'll second it for debate purposes.
Councillor Quilty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a whole lot to add on top of what we already had in the conversation. As the CEO has mentioned today, our finance staff are always looking for opportunities of savings, and it should be possible to achieve certain savings. Financial sustainability is one of our primary tasks. A second to no other plans that we had during budget time. So I believe it would be a worthwhile exercise, if not consultancy and marketing and promotion specifically, then perhaps other areas, other operational areas without harming the levels of services currently. Thank you.
Councillor Hall.
I like the idea of getting out of the other areas and saving some money in the budget for it, but I'm also with the view that there possibly could come, get savings from other areas in the budget and not specifically those areas. So highlighting an individual area might not be the way to go, but the wording could be that from,
Finished?
Yes, sorry.
From that, can I go back to the mover and ask if there's any changes that might come out as a consequence of that conversation?
I'm happy to go with savings are achieved to fund the sum of 110,000 for the sustainability plan without specifying the executive services. Thank you.
Is that happy with the with the seconder?
Yes, that's fine. Yep.
Okay, the motion is altered with the consent. Sorry.
Oh,
The motion is altered with the consent of the mover and seconder accordingly. And that change is savings are achieved to fund the sum of 110,000 for the sustainability plan and then the remainder. We've got you finished speaking as a seconder?
Yes. Sorry.
Councillor Chamberlain.
Yeah, as much as I, applaud Councillor Quilty for her theory that this should be funded out of savings, and I believe that that's probably going to be the case, I wouldn't like to see this process held up on the basis of don't think we've had enough savings found yet. I'd rather see it go ahead and then save the money and finance it, backfill it if necessary. So on that basis, I won't be agreeing with this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lowe.
Forgive me and update me because I just, for life of me, can't remember. Can I foreshadow a motion if this doesn't get up? Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you. Yeah, for sure. I'll move that it'll be as per recommendation. So it's the foreshadowed motion. Yeah.
Do you wish to move that as an amendment to the motion?
Happy to move that as an amendment to the motion.
Do I have a seconder to the amendment to the motion? Councillor Chamberlain. Do you wish to speak further to it, Councillor Lowe?
Since we've had the discussion already and I've given my reasons why, I'll save us all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chamberlain.
Yeah, just agree with that. We've already had the discussions. We've given our reasons, and that's mine. Thank you.
Thank you. I put the amendment to the motion, which is that the motion be reverted back to the recommendation. Sorry?
We haven't voted on the...
No, you have to vote on the amendment first. Then if it gets up, it becomes the motion and then it gets voted on. If it doesn't get up, the other motion stands.
I thought we voted on the first one, and then if that didn't get up, then the amendment will get up.
No. So I put the motion, the amending motion. All those in favour? All those against? Yeah, the amendment becomes the motion. Those for the motion were Councillor Lowe, Councillor Mildred, Councillor Chamberlain. Those against, Councillor Quilty, Councillor Hall. Anybody wish to speak further in regard to this matter? Because I'll put the motion as the motion. Okay. I'll put the motion which has become the motion from the amendment. All those in favour? We're voting on the recommendation.
The original motion.
Yep.
Plugs into the officer's recommendation because the amendment's been voted on, so it's now taken favour of the motion.
No, we haven't. That's right.
And then, so now you're voting on this is it, so yours is out. Yeah.
So-
Mine as amended by Councillor Lowe is out, so we are voting on the original, which is
The recommendation. Yes. So all those in favour of the recommendation? Those against? The motion is carried. In favour, Councillor Lowe, Councillor Mildred, Councillor Hall, Councillor Chamberlain. Against, Councillor Quilty. There being no confidential business, I therefore close the inaugural Finance and Budget Committee meeting of Wodonga City Council at 1:44. Thank you.